What if animals never existed in human life? Throughout human history, animals have been so deeply embedded in our daily lives, environments, and imaginations that it's nearly impossible to imagine a world without them. But let's suspend belief for a moment and ask, what if animals, both wild and domestic, never existed? The world wouldn't just look different. It would be an entirely unrecognizable place. Here's a thought experiment exploring how the absence of all animal life would have reshaped human civilization. Agriculture might have never taken off. Domesticated animals such as oxen, horses, and donkeys were fundamental in early agricultural revolutions. They plowed fields, transported crops, and provided fertilizer through manure. Without them, humans would have been entirely dependent on manual labor and primitive tools. Large-scale food production might never have emerged, delaying urbanization, trade, and eventually civilization itself. Human evolution would follow a radically different path. Our evolution was influenced by our interactions with animals, both as predators and prey. Hunting animals sharpened our tools, honed our communication skills, and shaped group cooperation. Without animal interactions, early humans might not have developed the survival instincts, speed, or problem-solving skills they did. In fact, the pressure to evolve larger brains or more social cohesion could have been much weaker, slowing our evolutionary progress drastically. A huge piece of our emotional development would be missing. Animals teach humans compassion. The experience of nurturing, observing, or mourning animals has profoundly impacted how humans understand emotions. For many children, the first lesson in empathy comes from pets. In the absence of animals, emotional intelligence might have been stunted. Societies could have developed with more utilitarian or detached views of life, lacking the softening influence animals bring. Religion, symbolism, and myth would be empty shells. From the sacred cows of India to the serpent in Eden, animals are core characters in the myths and religions of every known culture. They are metaphors, gods, omens, and messengers. A world without animals would lack these archetypes. Our spiritual language would be far less vibrant, and the absence of symbolic creatures might have led humans to invent more abstract, less relatable belief systems. No early art, and possibly no art at all. Cave paintings from over 30,000 years ago overwhelmingly depict animals: bison, deer, mammoths, not humans. Animals were both subject and inspiration. Art could have emerged much later, perhaps only when abstract thought developed independently. Entire movements of art, from ancient to modern, would vanish from history. Scientific knowledge would be dangerously limited. Biology as a science wouldn't exist in any meaningful form. There would be no comparative anatomy, no evolutionary trees, no animal models for disease research. Medical breakthroughs like insulin, vaccines, and organ transplants owe their origins to animal studies. Even the basic understanding of life cycles, reproduction, and genetics would have progressed far more slowly, or taken completely different, unpredictable paths. Natural ecosystems would collapse. Even in a world with only plants and humans, the environment would break down. Bees and insects pollinate plants, birds disperse seeds, worms aerate soil. Without these invisible workers, many plant species would fail to reproduce or spread. Forests might choke themselves to death. Rot and disease would become rampant without scavengers and decomposers. Nature would become erratic, unbalanced, and inhospitable, making long-term human survival improbable. Culture and fashion would lose their texture. Animal materials shaped not just clothing, but also identity. Wool, leather, silk, fur. These weren't just functional, they were cultural signals. Without them, humans would rely only on plant fibers or minerals for clothing and tools. This would not only limit technology and warmth, but strip entire cultures of their iconic dress, rituals, and artistic expression. No feathered headdresses, no royal ermine, no tribal leathers, just linen and bark. Diets and culinary culture would be unrecognizable. Beyond obvious items like meat, milk, or eggs, many staple foods depend on animals indirectly. Coffee, almonds, and fruits rely on bee pollination. The lack of grazing animals would also change the landscape, making certain crops harder to grow. Fermentation and aging, used in cheeses or even wine, would be affected by missing bacterial ecosystems once spread through animals. Culinary culture would be bland, fragile, and far less diverse. Humans would be psychologically more isolated. Animals give companionship without judgment. They help people cope with stress, trauma, and loneliness. From horses in therapy to cats curled up beside grieving owners, animals have silently nurtured our mental health. Without pets or emotional support animals, humans might have relied solely on one another, placing immense pressure on human relationships and potentially leading to more loneliness, emotional repression, or even social dysfunction. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.